trying to achieve ideological aims that people wouldn't necessarily vote for, but also about changing the process, sort of putting their thumb on the scales so that the process is easier for them to keep making more decisions like this in the future?
Well, absolutely, because unions are a political force. I mean, they represent their members, but they also they give them a political voice. And, you know, in that fake conversation with David Koch, when Scott Walker thought he was talking to David Koch, there was something really revealing that he said. He said, "This is our moment to change the course of history." That's what he said when he thought he was talking to David Koch.
And the reason that he purports to have identified that moment is because Wisconsin has a budget deficit.
Right.
And so therefore that gives you a reason to change the course of history.
The course of history, to lock in the whole wish list of policies. And he specifically compared himself to Ronald Reagan and the air traffic controller strike. This was his moment, and he said that was the moment that ended communism. And you know, what's the crusade that they're fighting here? And they really want a corporate monopoly state. They don't want to have any countervailing force balancing out the power of corporations. And so unions are also a political force at the national level, at the state level. And we're in this bizarre situation where Citizens United has allowed corporations essentially to go nuclear on the political stage. If we think of this as a kind of a war, one side just got nukes. They are absolutely unconstrained. And now they're going after the slingshots that the other side has.
Right. Well, the one pseudo bit of competition they've got in terms of big money in politics. I mean, unions are able to pool the resources of their members in order to try to compete with these big guys, but they're the only ones who even crack the top 10 in terms of corporate giving.
Exactly. So there's a few different things, different agendas going on.
Are you heartened by the way this has worked out in Wisconsin? Protests in Wisconsin effectively stopping what was happening there, even as the National Republican Party decided to adopt Wisconsin as their signal fight for the country.
I mean, I'm so heartened by it, Rachel. I mean, it's extraordinary. And I mean, just listening to your opening commentary, you know, this very well may be the turning point. And what we're seeing is that when people do fight, they sometimes win, which is a really well-kept secret. That, you know, in all the sort of mocking of protests in our, you know, glib postmodern times, sometimes they win, especially if you're willing to do more than, you know, just go to a march once. And just the tenacity of people in Madison, it's so inspiring.
When you have traveled around the world documenting disaster capitalism, the shock doctrine, when you have, and I know you travel around the world speaking on this topic as well, what have you been able to find